Every company, big or small, has processes. SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures. Things that you and your team need to do every single day to accomplish the tasks that help your business thrive. In today's video, I'm going to go over how you can optimize your systems and processes through process automation. Let's get started. First thing to note, not all process automation is created equal, meaning that sometimes you can overcomplicate it, so tread lightly in this topic. I'm just gonna let you know right now, because you can get into the weeds and start using things like Zapier and other connector apps and starting to connect things. But if you don't think about this from a higher level and really have a thoughtful rollout, you could actually do more damage than good. So that's our full disclaimer here. Don't just jump right in and start automating things. You need to work with your team, you need to collaborate, you need to understand where their pain points are in your current process, and you really need to understand everything as a whole and every piece of your process before you actually are ready to automate. So the first step that we always do is we go through a deep dive discovery and planning session to understand everything that's being done right now, how it's being done, and the bottlenecks that are currently in place. Once all that's defined, then the tasks that are repetitive, that can easily be automated, will reveal themselves, and the ones that can't be automated and has to be manual, you can really isolate those and ensure that that SOP is as tight as it can be so that anybody in your team can do it. So once we have all that listed out and ready to roll, we're actually gonna just make sure that your team is fully aware and documenting the process and making sure that everybody's following that process before we really get into starting to go, okay, now that we know your process and your team knows the process and they're working that process, now let's start addressing the bottlenecks. So the bottlenecks are addressed by writing user stories, because we are an agile development shop, so this is how we approach this. We'll write user stories for that end user and the process or task that they're doing, and the reason why automating or streamlining this particular task would be good. I'll give you an example user story. So we recently had a client in the distribution space say that, after we went through the discovery, at first they thought, we're pretty tight, we don't really need too much automation here. But after we went through that discovery, they realized, hey, we're spending 15 to 20 hours on manually going through our orders and printing labels, something as simple as that. Now, think about it like this. If you want to scale your business and you're already taking 20 hours a week on labels, if you scale that business, you're gonna get more and more orders. So that number, that 20-hour number, is gonna increase. We determined that by automating away that label printing process, the company could save up to 20 hours a week. And then it also eliminates that bottleneck from growing in the future as the company grows. So defining a user story, as a logistics manager, I want the ability to review and then auto print all of our labels for our new POs so that I can save time and eliminate the chance of human error. That's a great user story right there for that process. And there's tons of ways, depending on which systems you use, which technologies you use, on how you would actually automate that process away to free up that logistics manager to do more productive work, or work that's going to move your company forward. So once we define your processes, we write out some user stories to address the bottlenecks, we get into development and we actually start prioritizing and then rolling out features that will enhance your process. And with each release, each solution that we're deploying, you should get value and you should see an immediate return on your investment, because we're saving time and we're eliminating the chance of human error, which lowers your risk. So as we go, we're just chipping it away. We follow Agile methodologies, link in the description if you're not sure what that is, but we're going through that process, we're working on those things, and then as we get to the end and we automate your processes and we streamline SOPs that you have to do manually, we then look at artificial intelligence. So AI is on the rise, But our theories and methodologies around using AI is this: have a solid process, document that process, automate what you can, enhance with AI. You shouldn't start with AI. I think AI is more of a tool right now to help get you from point A to point B, but it's not the end-all be-all solution. And the AI can enhance processes like that label printing example, for instance. If we get the process automation working correctly for the label printing example and everything's working good, there's still a manual audit that has to be done. You know, you want to make sure you go through and you manually audit before you print. Well, imagine now that works great, and then the logistics manager says, okay, well now instead of spending 20 hours a week, I'm spending 5. That 5 is just strictly auditing and making sure, and then updating some labels depending on if there's some issues. Well, if you have an AI model that can easily read and audit your orders compared to the database of orders that those labels were coming from, it could automatically generate a report that shows you the discrepancies, redundancies, or anything else that populates to potentially even speed that audit up quicker and saving even more time, so that 5 hours might end up going down to an hour a week. That's just an example of how AI can enhance. AI should never replace, at least right now, it should never replace a full-on process or a review, but it should be able to enhance and save even more time on top of your process automation. Once you have your solid SOPs for your manual processes, your streamlined automated processes rolled out, and then you have some AI on top of it, and everything's moving and chugging along really nice and fast, you're probably eventually going to hit a bottleneck of some sort. Because in this kind of scenario, most companies are using connector tools like Zapier, and they're connecting the different softwares they're using to streamline these processes. We see it time and time again. Eventually you're going to hit a ceiling, and then a custom software project will be the only outcome that you need to actually break through that ceiling. So the idea is you document, automate, and then use AI to enhance so that you can save enough time to then eventually, if you need to go to an enterprise solution or build your own software that to encompass your company like an enterprise would, you have more budget now to then go move into a discovery for a full-stack engineering firm to then take those processes and then encapsulate them into a custom web app experience that your employees and your customers have a pleasure working, and it's custom exactly to your process. That's how YoDev would approach process automation and ensuring that your systems are optimized and as efficient as possible. If you're interested in something like this, click the link below. We're doing a free discovery session geared towards process automation and AI. And at the end of that discovery session, you're gonna get a roadmap, some preliminary user stories, and an understanding on where to get started to streamline your processes.